Hello everyone, today I want to show you the presentation of an article called Cluster Analysis of Exclamations and Comments on E-commerce Products, which was created by Oleh, Yurii Matseliukh, Batiuk, Sofia Romanova and Inessa Pihulechko. A survey of consumers' opinions of women's clothing was obtained from reviews and comments during online sales. The high popularity of clothing and footwear as a segment of the electronic market is considered. Correlation analysis of survey data was performed, correlation coefficients were calculated, the correlation matrix was constructed, and after correlation was establishing how consumers perceive the offered products and services in the clothing sales segment. Cluster data analysis was performed. The problem of analyzing the opinion of women's clothing consumers obtained from customer reviews and comments during online sales has the high share in the world, which belongs to the market for clothing and footwear. Solving this problem will allow companies to develop a system of marketing activities to attract new customers who use the internet to buy women's clothing to stimulate demand for goods and services. The unresolved problem remains the confirmation of the connection between positive feedback and company profits and business expansion. With such data, we can understand customers' moods and preferences, which is paramount for marketing and business development in general. Such data analysis will give companies an idea of how customers perceive their products and services and how to improve their offerings. By analyzing this data, business analysis and business owners will understand the relationship of different variables in customer feedback on clothing. According to our team, it is advisable to reduce the number of single records for statistical and analytical data proceeding by combining them into clusters with a similar set of properties. Regardless of the subject of the study, cluster analysis includes selection for clustering, data presentation in the table object property, rationing of table data, reasonable choice of metric for the formation of the proximity matrix, construction of a matrix nearby based on a normalized table object property, aggregation strategy for cluster analysis procedure, cluster analysis according to the procedure on the proximity matrix, dendrogram as a result of research and selection of the necessary clusters. Our data consists of consumers' opinions of women's clothing obtained from reviews and comments during online sales. We have a massive area of data, 26,486 records with a 10-dimensional attribute size as a dataset. Attributes in the study of consumer feedback included clothing ID, age, title, review text, rating, recommended index, positive feedback count, division name, department name, class name. Table presents only part of all records of women's clothing reviews and comments during online sales. The next step was to generate a report table with the minimum number of empty cells. Then we plotted data graphs in a Cartesian and polar coordinate system, as you can see. We submit data of age in a histogram. The cumulative of age data of women clothing e-commerce review by histogram is shown in figures below. We determined the descriptive statistics of quantitative dataset characteristics, as you can see in the table below. To achieve this goal, namely acquaintance with the main methods of highlighting the trend of the studied indicator, which is represented by the nature of its trend, using methods of smoothing time series and presenting the results using Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, it is necessary to conduct such research. Smoothing according to Candle formulas, simple moving average. We smooth the data using the size of smoothing interval. We have to get 7 columns in a row, which you can see on the figures below. Depending on the size of the smoothing intervals, the weight for the mid-level varies. Smoothing is carried out in the same way as in the previous paragraph. Smooth the data using the size of smoothing interval. We have to get 7 columns in a row using Pollard method. The main parameter of exponential smoothing is a parameter that takes values in the range of 0 and 1 or 0 and 3. It is necessary to smoothing the same series with the parameter values alpha to find the number of turning points and correlation coefficients between the original values and smoothed in all these cases. You can see on figures on exponential smoothing. About median smoothing, use the exact dimensions on the smoothing interval and the operation like previously. We smooth data using the size of smoothing interval. We have to get 7 columns in a row on figures. We constructed a correlation field to understand the relationship between our studied traits visually. We choose such features as a rating and recommended to build the field, where rating is a rating of 1 to 5 for a specific product and recommended. Index is a binary variable where 0 means that the product is not recommended and 1 is recommended. We also built correlation fields such as age and rating and closing ID versus age, as you can see on figure. To understand whether there is a relationship between the data, you need to calculate the correlation coefficient. The correlation coefficient characterizes the degree of closeness of the linear dependence. An autocorrelation function correlates a function with itself shifted by a certain amount of independent variable. Autocorrelation is used to find patterns in several data, such as periodicity. The graph of the autocorrelation function is also called the CORRELogram. In figure, we can see the result of autocorrelation. We divided one of the sequences into 3 equal parts. For partitioning, we choose the sequence rating and divided it into 3 equal parts with an interval of 7,828. The result can be seen in tables. For convenience, we made it in a separate table. The correlation matrix is a square table where the correlation coefficient between the corresponding parameters is located at the intersection of the corresponding row and column. To find the coefficient of multiple correlation, we use the CORREL function to calculate the autocorrelation coefficient in Excel. Assume that the base variable includes the range, then the autocorrelation coefficient is presented in table and in figure below. To conduct cluster analysis, we use an integrated data analysis and management system, Statistica, one of the most popular statistical programs for finding patterns, forecasting, classification, and data visualization. Before moving to Statistica, you need to prepare our data and set using Excel, namely to create the table object property by deriving the averages, age, rating, recommended index, positive feedback count for each type of clothing. To do this, use data consolidation and apply the average function for indicators, age, rating, recommended, positive feedback count in table as you can see below. For convenience, the data in the table have been sorted alphabetically. The next simple step is to normalize the resulting table. Now we can move on to cluster data analysis with statistics. Let's transfer the normalized table to a separate sheet in Excel. We import the sheet with the normalized table in Statistica. We select all the values for analysis. Note that the file contains raw data, not a matrix of similarities, rows, group clusters. We also choose the Euclidean distance as a metric for constructing a proximity matrix. Choose a single linkage for the merge strategy. We built a dendrogram as you can see on the figure below. In this paper, we analyzed a dataset of opinions of consumers of women's clothing obtained as a result of reviews and comments during online sales. The study used various data analysis methods using well-known software environments such as Excel and Statistica. It allows you to determine which clothes will bring more revenue to the company and which will increase the profitability of the online clothing store. The high popularity of clothing and footwear as a segment of an electronic market is considered. Since we have analyzed and understood which clothes are most often bought, we can conclude that we need to promote and emphasize to increase the store's popularity and its profitability, and accordingly the things that we have as lowest reviews and are not recommended by buyers show the latter. Cluster data analysis was performed and dendrograms of clothing sales responses were constructed and analyzed. Thank you for your attention.